We've done a whole bunch of practice writing linear equations if they give us a point and a slope. Now in 5.8 we're going to change one little thing, and instead of them giving us a point and a slope, we're going to be writing linear equations from 2 points. So they're going to give us 2 points. So write the slope-intercept form of an equation of the line that passes through -10, 0. So there's our given point and has this slope right here. So remember, to write an equation of a line, we always need two things. We need a point and we need the slope. Well, that's exactly what they've given us right here. So we're going to go ahead and say, well, gosh, that means y is equal to 4/5. We've got the slope. We don't know the y-intercept. So what we did is we put a dotted circle around this and we said, you know what? I'm almost there. All I need is one more piece of information. I just need to know what the y-intercept is. So then we take this x and this y and we plug those in here. So we're going to do 0 for y. This is 4/5 times x. X is 10. And then plus b. So again, we've gotten rid of those two variables by replacing with them with the numbers that they equal. And then we have this one variable equation that we can now solve. So I get 0 equals, I'm going to cancel the 5 with the 10. That's going to be a -2. So this is going to be a -8 plus b on this side. So now I move the 8 to the other side. So I get b equals 8. So again, a little dotted circle right here to remind me I'm not quite done. I need to take this and I need to plug it in right here. So that's going to give me y equals, this is 4/5 x, whoops, make that look right, and then plus 8. We're going to put a circle around that and we are done with that. We've taken that information, the fact that it goes through this given point -10 and that given slope 4/5, and we came up with the equation that matches that information. So if we were to graph this, we would find that this line has a slope of 4/5 and it does in fact go through that particular point. We did several of those where we checked it in the last section or so. So in this reminder, you'll notice that we had enough information to fill this in, but I put an asterisk by this because that's not quite true. They have to give us a point. Definitely they've got to give us a point, and they need to give us the slope, or we could change this just slightly. They could give us enough information to find the slope. So it may not be like on the problems that we've been doing where they say, oh, here's the slope. They just give that to us. But if they give us enough information that we can figure out what the slope is, then we follow the exact same process. So we're going to add one extra step today, and here's what it is. So notice it says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that passes through the given point. So they've given us two particular points, and then it says, whoops, this should say then graph the equation. I'll fix that. How can you check to see that your equation is correct? We can graph the points. We're going to check and make sure that these points actually end up on the equation that we've got here. So we've got a point. We've got to have the slope somehow. So remember the slope formula. The slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. I like putting that minus in the middle of there so I don't forget it. So y2 minus y1. So this is going to be 5 minus 8. And then this is going to be x2, which is 2, minus 4. Okay, so we've got a -3 on the top, and then this is going to be a plus. That's going to be a 6 on the bottom. So the slope on this one happens to turn out to be -1/2 once we reduce that. Now, just like before, I'm going to put a dotted circle around that. So I'm going to say that y is equal to -1/2 x plus b. Another dotted circle right here. Okay, so I'm getting closer and closer to the answer. I've got to have my equation in slope-intercept form. I now have the slope. I now need the y-intercept. Now what we did on the previous section is we always plugged in an x and a y. Now on this one, it kind of begs this question. Take a look here. Which one do we plug in? Well, it really doesn't matter which one we plug in. You could plug in -4, 8, this for the x and this for the y, or we could plug in 2, 5, this for the x and this for the y. We're going to get the same answer either way. Now on the first one, I'm going to do it with both just to double check, but I am going to say this. Plug in the easiest one. I'm going to say that this is the easiest. The reason it's the easiest is because they're all positive and we tend to make fewer mistakes working with positives. So I'm going to put the 5 in for the y. This is -1/2 times 2, and then plus b. those are going to cancel. So this is 5 equals negative 1 plus b. So if I add 1, I'm going to end up with 6 equals b. Now I'm going to put another dotted circle around that right there. And I'm going to say that the answer on this one, once I plug that back in there, is y equals negative 1/2 x plus 6. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 6. I'm going to put a big circle around that so everybody knows we think that's the answer. And then I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to double check using the other one. Okay, so this is going to be, we've got y equals negative 1/2 x plus b. We're going to put this in right here, and we're going to put that in right there, because the x is going to go right there, the y is going to go right there. So this is going to be an 8 equals negative 1/2 times 4 plus b. If I multiply the two of those, oh, and before I multiply those, did you notice what mistake I made? Wow, I missed a negative. We tend to make more mistakes with negatives, so I better make sure that I've got that in there. Otherwise, this isn't going to work out the right way. So I'm going to go ahead and put a negative in there. So negative times a negative is positive. So these are going to cancel. That's going to be a 2. So this is going to be a 2, positive 2, because negative times negative. And then we're going to subtract the 2. So we get b equals 6. Okay? Same 6 that I got before. I'd then take this and plug it in right there. But that is the right answer. Now we're going to do two things. We're going to graph this. So we're going to graph a line that crosses at 6. Has a slope of negative 1/2, so we're going to go down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, whoops, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, up 1, back 2, up 1, back 2. So it's going to look something like this. Again, we'll draw that as best we can. If you've got a straight edge or something, that would be awesome. Mine looks really jagged. And then let's double check here. Negative 4, 8. Back 4. 2, 4, 6, 8. We're right there. 2, 5. Over 2 and up 2, 4. There's 5. So the points that they gave us are on the line of the equation that we came up with, so we know we got that one right. So again, this is a little bit more tedious because you've got to go through and you've got to find the slope. If you make a mistake finding the slope, you're definitely going to get the answer wrong, because we're using that slope and then plugging in one of these points to find the rest of the information, the y-intercept there. So I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. I'm going to slide over here, and we're going to run through and do this one. Now, the formula again is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do negative 7 minus 9, and I'm going to do negative 1 minus 3. Again, being very careful there. So this is going to be negative 16 over negative 4. Double check me there. We get a 4 on that one. Okay, so I know that the slope is 4, so I'm going to put a dotted circle around that one. I'm going to write y equals 4x plus b. Dotted circle around that because I'm getting really close to the answer. I only need one more thing to get the right answer. And of these two, this is the easiest. And the reason it's the easiest is there are no negatives there. Both these numbers are a little bit bigger than the numbers there, but the fact they don't have negatives, I'm going to make fewer mistakes with negatives. It's just a fact. So the y is 9. The x is 3. And then we finish solving this. Notice this is kind of nice when we don't have fractions. So this is a 12 over here. We're going to get rid of the 12 by subtracting 12. So we get a negative 3 equals b. And I'm going to put a dotted circle on that. I'm then going to plug it in right here, and this is what we think the answer is, and I've got plenty of room up here. So we're going to write down y equals 4x minus 3, circle up, and we're all set to go. We are going to graph this. Crosses at negative 3, slope of 4, so rise 4, run 1, rise 4, run 1, rise 4, run 1, down 4, back 1, down 4 and back 1 would put me about right there. Draw as nice a line as we can. I should get that line tool out, but we're good here. And then let's double check here. Let's make sure we did this right. 3, 9. 1, 2, 3 in the x direction. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9's right there. -1, -7, so -2, 4, 6 would be right here. Now notice with this crappy line that I've drawn, it kind of looks like it crosses there, but that's why these dots are so important. It does cross right there at -1, -7, so we got that one right. So I'm going to shrink this down again, and we're going to run through and do these really, really quickly. A couple of these are going to notice some interesting information. So I'm going to grab this. First thing we want to do is we want to find the slope. So I'm going to do -1 minus the 2, -8 minus the -4. Be careful with those. If you make a mistake here, you're going to get the answer wrong. So this is going to be -3. This is a plus. So that's going to be a -4. So this is going to be 3/4. So the slope on this one is 3/4. So we're going to write y equals 3/4 x plus b. And then of the two of these, which one am I going to plug in? I'm probably going to plug in this one right here. I'm going to take that one and plug it in because the numbers are relatively small and there's only one negative rather than two. So this is a 2. 3/4. Let's plug in that -4. Don't forget to make that negative. Plus b. Let's do a little bit of canceling here. Goes in there once. Keep track of that negative. 2 equals -3 plus b. Add 3. We get 5 over here. So b is equal to 5. And now I can take this and I can plug it back in there. Probably should circle that so I know where to find it. So we get y equals 3/4 x plus 5. Put a big fat circle around that and we are all set to go. Let's take a look at the next one. Let's find the slope on this one. So this is going to be -7 minus this one right here. That's a -7. 10 minus, put the negative in the, or the minus in the problem, then go find the number. It happens to be -1. That's going to be a plus and that's going to be a plus. -7 plus 7 is 0 and that's 11. And here we go. What do we do with that? What does that tell us? Well, that tells us, remember, 0 is okay to divide by a number. It's not okay to divide by 0. 0 on the top's fine. Grab your calculator, type it in if you want to. It would tell you that the answer is 0. So that means that we've got y equals 0x plus b. Well, stop and think about this. That means it's flat. That means it's horizontal. That means it's going to be y equals a number. So what is that number? Take a look up here. It's not going to be the x's. Look at these guys right here. They're both exactly the same. So it's going to be y equals -7. And you could get that by plugging in one of these points. It would work just fine. Okay, last one. Let's take a look here. We're going to find the slope. So we're going to do -9 minus 6. And we're going to do 5 minus, find that number, 5. So this is -15. That looks pretty good. Over 0. Now, what do we do in that case? It's the opposite of this. It's okay to have 0 on the top. It is not okay to have 0 on the bottom. In fact, throw that in your calculator, and your calculator will say error division by 0 or something like that. So what this means is there is no slope. It's undefined. And if it's undefined, that means it's so steep there's no number to represent that. So that means it's vertical. So if it's vertical, do you remember what the equation of a line is if it's vertical? It's x equals a number. So what number would it equal? Take a look at these. They're both the same. That's why they're the same, because the only condition on this equation is x has to equal 5. All right, that's how we find the equation of a line if we're given 2 points. We've got an extra step. We've got to find the slope. So this calculation right here, when we're finding the slope on these and when we're finding the slope on these, very critical. If you make a mistake on that, that number is automatically wrong, which means everything you do after that, even if you plug things incorrectly, it's going to give you the wrong answer. So the key here is to be careful. We've added basically one step from what we were doing in the last section, but we do have to be very careful with that extra step. Good luck on the assignment.